Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. The landscape is stark yet beautiful. Flat expanses of frozen earth, dotted with driftwood, snowdrifts, and small homes adapted to the Arctic environment. Wildlife thrives in this cold corner of Alaska. The region's ecosystem includes caribou herds, Arctic foxes, and massive marine mammals like walrus and seals. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Point Lay, Alaska is a remote Inupiat village nestled on the frozen edge of the Chukchi Sea in northwestern Alaska. Located above the Arctic Circle, the village sits atop a coastal plain where icy winds sweep across a tundra landscape. Winters are long, dark, and bitterly cold, with temperatures in December seldom rising above zero without a sunrise. This remote village sits far enough north that when the sun dips below the horizon in mid-November, it doesn't fully return until the new year. In that deep winter night, the stars feel closer, and silence settles like frost on the tundra. The wind rarely ceases to blow here, and like the wind, life rages for survival everywhere you look. Among the most iconic and dangerous predators in this environment is the polar bear. These apex carnivores are strong swimmers and skilled hunters, primarily relying on sea ice to stalk seals, walrus, and whales. During the warmer months of the summer, when sea ice all but vanishes, polar bears may scavenge along the coast a bit, but mostly lay dormant and wait for winter's return. They do not hibernate or enter a state of torpor like other bear species, but do slow down considerably during warmer months. During this time, they lose much of the fat that they've accumulated over the winter hunting season, as long as that season was successful enough to allow them to do that. As the winter returns and sea ice forms, polar bears migrate en masse sometimes to stalk and kill seals, walrus, and whales once again. At this point, they're driven by hunger, lacking opportunity to successfully find prey on the land. This migratory cycle is solely dependent upon the formation of sea ice. And in years where sea ice is late in forming or poorly formed, it is hard on polar bears, and consequently hard on humans who live near them. On the morning of December 8, 1990, the village was quiet. It was 4 a.m., dark as coal, and the temperature hovered somewhere near zero. Carl Stalker, 28 years old, bundled in layers, stepped outside with his girlfriend. She was 8 months pregnant. Maybe they were walking to a relative's house. Maybe they just needed some air. The snow underfoot crunched softly. Their breath hung in the still air. Then came the sound. Not footsteps, not wind, something heavier. In the middle of the village, something emerged from the shadows. Not a dog, not a human. It was white, massive, and moving with a slow, deliberate gait. A polar bear. In most towns in America, seeing a polar bear would be the stuff of movies, but in Point Lay, it was a terrifying possibility that occasionally turned real. Still, to find one in the center of the village at night in winter, this was no ordinary bear. It was thin, starving, and it was hunting. Carl and his girlfriend did the only thing they could. They ran in separate directions. She made it to safety. He did not. No one saw what happened in the darkness. No one heard screams above the sound of the wind. It wasn't until an hour later that she returned with help, and what they found would haunt them forever. Carl was gone. What remained was his partially consumed body. Nearby, the polar bear lay resting, possibly sleeping, its hunger temporarily sated. It did not flee as the group approached. It did not react with surprise. A local man raised his rifle and ended it. Later, state biologists would confirm what everyone suspected. The bear was starving. It hadn't eaten in days, maybe longer. In its desperation, it wandered into the village under cover of darkness, following the scent of food. It found Carl Stalker instead. He became, as far as anyone could remember, the first person in modern Alaskan history killed and eaten by a polar bear. News of the attack spread across the country. Articles ran in the Washington Post, UPI, and Anchorage outlets. But in Point Lay, the headlines didn't matter. What mattered was that a young man was gone. A family had been shattered. A child would be born fatherless. And an uneasy truth lingered on the minds of observers. Was the Arctic changing? Years later, biologists would warn what they were seeing: less stable sea ice, thinner bears, hungrier predators. Bears that once stayed on the ice to hunt seals were now venturing farther inland, seeking food in dumpsters, sled dog kennels, and horrifyingly, human settlements. Is it because more people now live in polar bear country, or are climate fluctuations affecting bear behavior? For Point Lay, the attack was a turning point. Residents started organizing patrols. Bears spotted near town were taken more seriously. But there was no undoing what happened that night in 1990. The bear wasn't evil, it was desperate. The wilderness isn't cruel, it's indifferent. Carl Stalker was at home in his ancestral homeland, growing a family and planning a future. But in the Arctic, Mother Nature always gets the final say. The incident prompted wildlife officials and local leaders to revisit bear safety protocols for Arctic communities. In subsequent years, Point Lay and other remote villages began placing greater emphasis on perimeter monitoring and community awareness during the winter months. As for the motives of the polar bear attacking and consuming Carl Stalker, it is clear that it had done so out of starvation. It was gaunt, desperate, and opportunistic. It wasn't protecting an animal carcass it had cached, nor was it protecting its cubs. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon, linked below, will give you ad-free early access to photos, notes, and episodes. And the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. Arctic Alaska is said to host around 4,700 polar bears along the Chukchi and Beaufort Seas, the Bering Strait, and other coastal ranges. Instead of relying on a seasonal supply of berries, bugs, or beasts, polar bears rely on a seasonal ice sheet to extend their hunting grounds for seals, walrus, and whales. There is no fallback plan if they go hungry, and turning to a ready supply of humans is a desperate and dangerous act for them. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Was this polar bear pushed into the village by climate-related sea ice loss, or could polar bear populations be overrunning the habitat's carrying capacity? Should isolated villages have bear patrols, electric fences, or some other form of early detection? Should inhabitants of isolated villages be allowed to proactively kill polar bears they deem as nuisances or dangerous? I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We've slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.